Good evening, and welcome to Royal Daily Report, your #1 source for exclusive royal news and investigations. I'm your host, and tonight we bring you a story that has remained hidden for over 2 decades. Stay with us as we uncover shocking revelations that could change everything. You thought you knew about the royal family. There are stories that stay buried for a reason, stories wrapped in shadows, whispered behind closed doors, and locked away because the people involved never wanted the world to hear them. But sometimes, someone who has nothing left to lose starts talking. Behind prison walls, away from the cameras and the world she once moved through like a queen, Ghislaine Maxwell has allegedly spoken about pieces of Andrew's past that were never meant to come out. She has nothing to protect now. Not her reputation, not her circle, not the powerful men she once stood beside. And hidden inside these whispered pieces is a story involving Prince Andrew and a young woman the world would later come to know as Meghan Markle. What she hints at is simple. They met long before Harry, and the real story started on a yacht. At first, it sounds unbelievable, too wild, too strange, too dangerous to be true. But the moment you begin following the timeline, checking the details, and lining up the whispers, the puzzle pieces begin to fit like a lock clicking open. And somewhere inside that hidden memory of 2002, there is one secret that changes everything. A secret about Meghan's life before the world met her. A secret tied to Prince Andrew. And a secret connected to something that would happen months later. A sudden, shocking medical crisis and a hysterectomy. If that sounds like too much for one story, stay with me, because by the time we reach the end, you'll hear the chapter that brings all of it together. The yacht, the prince, the whispered pregnancy, and the infection that turned into something far more serious than anyone expected. This is the story Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly hinted at. And now we begin at the only place it could start. The coast of Nice in the warm February air of 2002. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Royal Daily Report and hit that notification bell so you never miss our exclusive investigations into the royal family. February 2002, the sun drops into the water like melted gold, and the harbor glows as if someone lit candles inside the waves. A Greek millionaire's yacht waits at the dock, big, bright, alive with music and people who look like they stepped out of a magazine. This wasn't a tourist boat. It wasn't a cruise. It wasn't even a simple party. It was a private celebration held for one VIP guest, Prince Andrew, who at that time was traveling across Europe in a diplomatic role. And on that same night, stepping onto that same yacht, wearing confidence like it was her dress, is a young Meghan Markle. This is years before Hollywood attention. Years before royal titles, years before the world even knew her name. Back then, she was a girl with fierce ambition and a hunger for the world to finally notice her. People didn't know it yet, but the events on this yacht would become one of the strangest and most whispered rumors. Linked to her past, every story needs a witness, and this one has the most unexpected kind. An Australian backpacker who goes by the fake name Bob. Bob didn't belong in this world of millionaires, princes, and glittering decks. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. He was just a young guy traveling through Europe with a cheap backpack and a few coins in his pocket. But luck or fate placed him on the yacht that night. He'd met Theo, the yacht owner's son. While wandering through Nice, Theo liked him, trusted him, and invited him to a party he said would be one for the books. Bob didn't know that one for the books meant watching a strange, intense, and unforgettable connection form right in front of him. He didn't know he would become the only person who would one day be able to say, "I saw Meghan Markle and Prince Andrew together," before any of us knew who she'd become. Bob remembers everything. The music, the lights, the feeling that something unusual was about to happen. He didn't know he was standing at the edge of a rumor that would follow Meghan all the way into Buckingham Palace. Before Prince Andrew even sets foot on the yacht, Meghan is already the center of attention. Not because she was famous, she wasn't. Not because she was powerful, she wasn't. But because she spoke like someone who believed she was destined for something massive. According to the witness, she proudly told people that her father was an award-winning Hollywood lighting director. She had just landed a role in a US hospital drama. And one day she would become the first female president of the United States. The other girls on the yacht didn't like her. They whispered, rolled their eyes, and called her a fantasist, someone who talked too big, too loud, but Meghan didn't seem to care. She was watching the staircase, waiting, scanning for someone. Because Meghan wanted something more than attention. She wanted the prince. And the moment he arrived, her story truly began. When the clock crawled past 11 p.m., the energy on the yacht shifted like the air itself knew someone important was on the way. Conversations paused, heads turned. Even the music seemed to lower itself in respect. Then he stepped aboard Prince Andrew, confident, relaxed, moving through the crowd like he already knew he was the most powerful person on the vessel. And Meghan saw her moment. She didn't hesitate. She didn't blink. She didn't wait for another girl to act first. According to the witness, Meghan moved toward him with the determination of someone who had made up her mind long before the night began. Less than 30 minutes after Andrew's arrival, she was already sitting on his lap, not shy, not unsure. She wore a tiny white bikini that caught the light like polished seashells, and she leaned into him, whispering into his ear like she'd known him her entire life. The other women on the yacht watched with quiet irritation, whispers traveling faster than the sea breeze. But Meghan wasn't paying attention to them. She was focused on one thing, locking in the prince's interest before anyone else even opened their mouth. Some say she acted boldly. Some say she acted strategically. But whatever the truth is, one thing was certain. Prince Andrew noticed her, and he didn't push her away. This moment, this bold, fearless, unblinking move, became the spark that set the next 72 hours on fire. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this video with anyone who wants to know the real truth behind royal headlines. It happened quickly. One moment, Meghan was whispering into Andrew's ear on the upper deck, and the next, the two of them were walking down a narrow staircase leading to the private cabins below. And then they disappeared for 3 full days. Crew members and guests later recalled that food and drinks were brought to a single cabin, the one Meghan and Andrew had taken. Nobody saw them come out. Nobody saw them return to the deck. The cabin door stayed closed morning to night, night to morning. Whatever happened down there, whatever words were spoken, whatever promises were hinted at, remains locked behind that cabin door. But the witness remembers one thing very clearly. When Meghan finally came out, sun-kissed, glowing, brushing her hair back with a satisfied look, she said something that sent a shock through the circle of girls still on the yacht. "I've got my prince at last." It wasn't a joke. It wasn't playful. It was a declaration. By the end of the 3rd day, Meghan and Andrew left the yacht together. They walked out as if nothing unusual had happened, as if spending 3 days hidden away in each other's company was simply normal. But the truth is, it was anything but normal. And what came next would prove just how complicated those 3 days would become. The yacht party ended, the music faded, and the waves smoothed back into silence. But Meghan was not finished with the story she believed she had started. She stayed in touch with Theo, with Melanie, and even with Bob, the quiet backpacker who kept his distance but saw everything. More importantly, according to sources, she stayed in touch with Prince Andrew. At least she tried to. Meghan believed the connection they shared on the yacht wasn't just a fleeting moment. She treated it as the beginning of something she wanted to grow, something she thought could change her life. She had told people on the yacht she wanted to be someone important, someone powerful, someone with influence. A Princini prince was exactly the type of door she wanted to walk through. And for a short time, the communication continued. Her name still meant little to the world, but to her, the spark she believed she had set in motion it was everything. She carried that belief with her for weeks, into new conversations, new dreams, new plans. She had gotten close to a prince. And she wasn't about to let the story end on a yacht. But something she didn't expect was waiting for her. A silence, a shift, a door that suddenly closed. And when it closed hard. The next chapter begins with that silence, the moment everything Meghan believed she had secured vanished like mist over the French coastline. After the yacht, Meghan walked into life with a new confidence. She believed she had opened a door most people could only dream about. She believed she had secured a connection with Prince Andrew, a connection that could lift her into a world she wanted more than anything. But then everything changed. When Andrew returned to London, his world swallowed him again. Royal schedules, meetings, public duties. Suddenly, Meghan found herself standing on the outside of a kingdom she thought she was stepping into. She tried calling his mobile. It stayed off. She found the number to his new office. She called again and again and again, sources say. Her calls became so frequent that the prince gave his staff a clear instruction: do not put her through. To Meghan, this wasn't just silence. It was rejection. A cold, heavy rejection that felt like the yacht had never happened. As if the 3 days below deck were erased. As if her whispered promises and plans had evaporated. As if she had been mistaken about everything. But the silence didn't matter nearly as much as what she was trying to tell him. Because Meghan wasn't calling just to talk. She was calling because she believed she had news he needed to hear news. That would shake her life and his into something no one on that yacht could have predicted. But Andrew never picked up. And Meghan was left alone with a secret growing heavier every day. This chapter is the turning point. The moment where the story shifts from ambition to something deeper, more human, and far more complicated. According to the circle of sources connected through Melanie, Theo's girlfriend Meghan had told them she had important news for the prince. And whispered behind those words was one belief. Meghan thought she was pregnant, and she thought Prince Andrew was the father. In her mind, this wasn't just news, it was her future. It was the next step in the story she believed fate had handed her on that warm night in Nice, but she couldn't reach him. Her calls hit walls. Her messages never landed. Her attempts at connection disappeared into silence. And day after day, as the reality settled in, she faced a choice she never expected to confront alone. Sources recount that she struggled with what to do, balancing fear, ambition, shock, and uncertainty. Then she made a decision. She reportedly chose to end the pregnancy not because she wanted to, but because the prince she believed would stand beside her never even answered the phone. The silence from London didn't just close a door. It pushed her into a decision that would change the rest of her life. And if the story had ended there, it would already be dramatic enough. But fate had one more twist, waiting for her, a twist even darker than the palace silence. In the months after the reported abortion, Meghan's life spun into a blur of reinvention. She became involved with a member of George Bush's Senate circle, a man with influence and political weight. Someone she believed could open new paths for her future. She was still chasing the same dream: power, status, a place in the rooms where decisions are made. But then, according to the same chain of sources, came the moment that changed everything. A brief affair with an actor, one mistake, one secret she never saw coming. The actor allegedly carried an STD. Meghan contracted a severe infection. And before she could understand what her body was going through, the situation got far worse than what anyone expected. Sources claimed the infection became dangerous, urgent, and by April 2002, Meghan reportedly underwent a hysterectomy. One moment, she was climbing through the world, fueled by ambition, determination, and belief in her destiny. The next, she was fighting a medical emergency that would leave a permanent mark on her life, sweeping away every dream she once had of a traditional family. Closing a chapter she never thought would end so suddenly, and leaving her to rebuild herself from the ground up. This part of her life stayed deeply hidden, locked away behind smiles, interviews, and But the timing, the infection, the medical crisis all linked back to the same chain of events that began on that yacht. And that's why even after Meghan became a duchess, the whispers of Nice, the prince, and the 3 mysterious days didn't disappear. They followed her quietly, consistently, like a ghost. And that brings us to the final chapter. The legend no one can ever quite bury. Years passed. Meghan rose, reinvented herself again and again, and eventually married Prince Harry, the man the sources jokingly called the Prince of Pink Pancakes. Her life transformed into a global spotlight, a royal title, and a new identity. But some stories refuse to fade. Some stories stay stitched into the background, waiting for the right moment to come back up. Those who knew about Nice could never forget it. Those who watched her rise recognized the irony. And Prince Andrew, if the whispers are true, avoided her with a coldness that felt almost practiced. Sources say that once she entered the royal family, the two shared a strange, frosty tension, as if they had been actors in a play neither of them wanted to revisit. And then there is the final twist. When Ghislaine Maxwell reportedly spoke about the forgotten shadows of Andrew's past, she didn't mention newspapers, gossip, or speculation. Instead, she hinted at a story of 3 days. A story of a young woman, and a story Andrew hoped would never surface again. The yacht, the whispers, the pregnancy, the infection, the hysterectomy, the locked door below deck, a chain of events that shaped the private past of a woman who would one day become a duchess. A story that begins like a rumor, but settles in your mind like truth. And as the years go on, one thing becomes clear. This isn't just a forgotten chapter. It's a ghost. One that still walks beside Meghan Markle's rise. One that Prince Andrew would rather the world never hear again. And one that finally has a voice whether the palace likes it or not. That concludes tonight's special investigation here on Royal Daily Report. We've brought you the untold story that connects Prince Andrew, Meghan Markle, and a secret that has remained buried for over 20 years. If you found this report shocking, make sure to subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now. Hit the bell icon to get notified every time we release breaking royal news and exclusive investigations you won't find anywhere else. Share this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and join us next time as we continue to uncover the truth behind the palace walls. This is Royal Daily Report, bringing you the stories they don't want you to know. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next report.